We're going live.
Okay.
The Hazelwinkle twins, aren't they up in
Alabama? They're retired now. They said that they were giving it up maybe like 4 years ago.
Nice. All right, TFWR, we're back. How's everybody doing? I'm here with Florida State Wrestling Club and FAMU Wrestling Club co-coach Fred Simmons. He's been involved in this club in NCWA for many, many years. He was a South Carolina state placer himself, and he's here with us now today. So how are you, Coach Simmons, and how has this pandemic kind of affected you? And now that we're coming out on the other side of it, thank you for coming on our show. I do appreciate it.
But I'd like to say thank you for the platform and allowing us to kind of get our message out, and let people know more about, NCWA and just the programs that are in Florida. The pandemic, school-wise, with our athletes, both teams have been able to really persevere and push through. We stress academics, both teams, even working with Tallahassee Community College students that, participate and practice with our club. So we're really proud of the grades coming out of this semester. Florida State, definitely, we've had, I wouldn't say some issues, but definitely trying to get back on the right track as far as club, things that we need to do for clubs so we can continue to get funding from the school. For FAMU is a little different, but the difference probably would be Florida State allow the students to be more leadership driven and kind of allow them to make decisions based on the rules and stuff that the sports clubs are being an RSO, recognized student organization on campus.
Sure, and one thing I'd like to say out there to everybody is this gentleman was just put into the Founders Award inductee for NCWA, which is kind of their Hall of Fame. He was 2011 NCWA Women's Coach of the Year. He was the head coach at Tallahassee Community College. He's still co-head coach at FAMU and Florida State, and a two-time state placer. So he's been around for a long time. He's been doing it for a long time. A question I had, so for people out there that don't really know much about club and aren't too familiar, from what I understand, there's two divisions, right? There's Division I and Division II. There's 153 men's club teams and there's 54 women's club teams. FSU happens to be in Division II. Talk a little bit about that. Talk about a little bit about what are the differences in the divisions. And you obviously are a school that has men and women, but for people who haven't been educated on the NCWA, educate us, Coach.
So NCWA started out as one big division. I think they kind of learned early on in the process that you have some schools that have more resources as far as funding.
You're breaking up a little bit.
I'm sorry. You keep coming through now, loud and clear?
Coming through better, yes.
Okay. So two divisions. They saw that leadership definitely was a strong suit, having adult leadership. So if I had to break it down simply, your Division I teams starting out probably had more adult head coaches, and your Division II teams were more student-led and driven, and it kind of metamorphed from that. Like I said, you have some of our larger schools or that are Division I, like Apprentice, Grand Valley, Liberty, MMI, which the Hazelwinkle twins coached that for many, many years. UCF, those are some of our bigger, more established programs in the NCWA. And then you have your smaller teams, like UF is a student-led team. Florida Gulf Coast, they had, and forgive me, I think it was Pete Mankovich, NCAA champ from Michigan State. He coached there for a while, moved down to Florida. So we've had I think for our conference, Southeastern Conference, we really did great things as far as the amount of teams, Division I and Division II. We got a pretty good mix in our conference.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of teams out there, and kids looking to go to college, obviously, but they also want to play. They also want to play wrestling. They also want to be a wrestler. However, maybe they're on a swing year. Maybe they're just not ready either for that level. What do you tell them? What do you say to them where, okay, you can go to a Florida public college, take advantage of your prepaid and still have the opportunity to wrestle?
So I think, and probably if I had to tell one thing with high school coaches, and I know that most high school coaches, they're going to promote grades, but just, me being more social media heavy and having guys and girls reach out is I preach grades. Florida prepaid is one option, but Florida Bright Futures is another option that, you can qualify, and it's almost as, if not the equivalent to a partial scholarship if you're going to stay in the state of Florida. So I'm always trying to put, on our social media pages, putting out information on how to go about, talking to your guidance counselor about, especially your freshman and sophomore year. If I can talk to them then about, hey, this could be something, that's why you need to take care of your grades early, so that if you get the partial or get the Bright Futures here, and some Division II or Division I school comes a knocking, then you have options. You can kind of weigh out you along with your parents, weigh out your monetary options. And then a lot of times I tell them to look at the resources that wrestling coaches, or ask about resources that are going to help you, not just in wrestling, but outside in graduating, getting a job, a career, internship, stuff like that. We don't think about that when we're 19, 20, and it normally takes somebody like, hey, wrestling is going to only take you to this point in life. What's your next step?
Yeah, JD was talking a little bit about that. He's had kids come through the program and almost use it as a leap year and do something that he said was called gray shirting, and then still being able to leap to a bigger program. As far as, and you may want to touch on this, you guys are competing at most of the tournaments that the big schools are competing at. You're at these big tournaments where the D1 schools are there, D2 schools are there, and they're seeing these kids wrestle. So the opportunity is still there for them.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, and JD kind of touched on it, and how I present it to kids is, if you've been wrestling 8, 9, 10 years, by the time you get to college, you're like, believe it or not, we probably have more state qualifiers just walking across Florida State's campus. They just state placers, state qualifiers, like, hey, hey, I recognize your name, they'll come out for a practice, and you look them up and like, oh, you're a 3-time state qualifier and a 1-time state champ. Why not wrestling? I'm just burnt out. The constant grind, especially, being in high school and scholastic, is hard. So most of the kids that I come into contact with, you're trying to recondition their mind and be like, hey, it's not as demanding as far as, your time as you would think it is. If you wrestle at an elite level, then you can turn it on and turn it off, and the things that you need to do outside of the wrestling room that are going to keep you at that competitive edge.
And somebody had just mentioned this. Is it in the club NCWA best interest to take the club program and go onto the national stage, step up their game, and try to become a division like that, a national, like an NAIA or Division II, 1, 3, whatever? Or is it better to get focus on becoming a part of a college program and being a D1 program? How do you get yourself onto a national stage? How do you get the club level on a national stage to where kids are recognizing it as, I want to go there because I want to wrestle?
I think at this point, mediums like this is where we can kind of share and say, hey, look, we understand that, the person dangling a carrot over your head saying, hey, you need to wrestle, you need to be to practice every day. If that just is not your vibe or you understand that wrestling at an elite level where you can go to tournaments and you can compete against Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAIA teams, this is probably for you. As far as us being on a national level, I think that the NCWA, moving forward has kind of, with the advent of now, our national championships are hosted on Flow. You can watch every match on Flow, and we're doing those things. The association is doing those things, so it kind of dispels that misnomer of, oh, it's just club, or the competition is not as good as other associations. So
I'm on a call.
as far as making it to the next level, I think a lot of coaches that tell you, especially in the Southeast, that a lot of club or NCWA teams are participating. We do have some tough kids, not from top to bottom, a couple spots here and there, but moving forward, I think if you can establish a program, you can get a fan base, you can get support. You're definitely on your way to kind of moving the needle, to kind of opening up the doors, especially with women's wrestling taking off to hey, why not as a sport, even though it's a revenue generating sport, why not, let's look at it because we can incorporate.
Yeah, somebody just said here, why don't we see the larger NCAA wrestling schools compete on the national level in Florida? There's no reason why FSU, UF, and Miami shouldn't be competing at the NCAA level.
It's going to go back to support. Like I talked earlier offline, lacrosse was a club sport, and people donated to lacrosse, not just, $5, $10, but they were putting in significant, donations before it even kind of blew up, at the Division I level.
So would you say that, I know I've heard that from all three club team coaches that I spoke to, that in order to go Division I, at least in our state, the team would have to be self-funded for a certain amount of years and show that we're self-funded and we're competing, for the college then to step in and say, okay, now we can offer scholarships, now we can offer some funding, now we can help. Is that true everywhere?
Yes, you would need to be heavily, or show the athletic department that you have a significant amount of people that are donating to your team before they even look to step in. I know at Florida State, even though they have a great athletic booster club, and at FAMU as well, it's definitely going to take some donating. I think one of the critical things that I worked on with my kids at Florida State this year is, now that we're RSO, we're able to get to go through the university, where if you wanted to donate, you can get a tax break. And I think that's a big thing for some people to be like, hey, I wouldn't mind donating, $2,000. I can kind of see where the money is going. Kids are competing at this level, and so on and so forth. I'm totally transparent about, how we will work things, but that was our biggest thing. Let's be able to get funded, get it through the university, where if somebody wanted to do a generous donation, that we will be able to have that, and them to get a tax break while I'm not doing the work.
Right. Yeah. So I know one thing that is dear to your heart is the community colleges.
Yes.
I know that there's I know in California, I think you mentioned, there's a huge community college following as far as the junior college wrestling programs. I'm sorry, my son was talking to me. As far as the wrestling program. So do we have a junior college program? Do we have junior college wrestling? Do we have community college? And I know you wanted to talk a little bit on how can Florida create that, and how can it be built? Yes. And where does it start? I mean, how can colleges, like, is there even community colleges anymore? Because I know I went to Miami-Dade Community College for a short time, but now it's called Miami-Dade College.
So So they've changed in my regular profession. I do the marketing recruitment for the College of Science and Technology at FAM. I also recruit students, so from community colleges and high school. But in the state system has changed the name from community college to state schools. So state funded schools. Even though there's still you can get your AA from community colleges and then transfer. A lot of programs now like UCF, Florida State, USF, Florida UF.
There was a time where Miami-Dade had a wrestling program because my uncle wrestled there back in, I don't know, the 60s maybe.
I wish if I know so many coaches down there in Miami, and with the advent of St. Thomas now, definitely if anybody is interested, in stepping up to that level, at least for NCWA, I think the difference is price. Like, so I looked into maybe moving to NAIA with FAMU, seeing if we could get the school to fund it, and we ran into the application fee is 10 grand. Just a one-time application fee of 10 grand. And then I think yearly is from like 2,500 to $5,000 a year to be in the association versus NCWA. And I've been griping and moaning that they keep creeping up the cost for the yearly membership fee, but it's $515. So, it's a lot easier for you to get $515 together and then have guys compete versus trying to, raise the 10 grand.
But now, could a Division I college have a NAIA wrestling program?
I haven't seen it. I've seen Division I colleges like Ohio State. They have a club team that did really well this year at nationals. The Navy Prep Academy, they used to have a club team alongside their Division I teams. So basically, they would wrestle that 1 year gray shirt. I think JD spoke about it, and then they could immediately, have 4 to 5 years of eligibility. Air Force did it as well. So
is it the funding that why wouldn't why wouldn't the NAIA be trying just to grab all you guys up down here in Florida?
When it boils down to it, money. I could see. I think we kind of fit in the niche. When I first started coaching, the membership fee was $315. Now it's $515. Am I mad about it? Yeah, because I've seen teams like our conference, Southeastern Conference, back in 2011, we had 15 teams, like 4 and 5 in Georgia. Every school in Florida had a team. North Florida, they're trying to get their club back, but they're more student ran, and just trying to work with these teams that were established before. From year to year, you have turnover, like a student leaves, and then they don't have a plan in place for somebody else to pick up. So it's you're always kind of starting over. And that's why our association has been pushing to have that one adult. And we've been lucky in Tallahassee to have, 2 coaches that are, regardless of our jobs, are able to stay in Tallahassee and operate and move, 3 different teams. Like we had TCC going for a while, and the administration in the athletic department decided it was a liability that they didn't want to, risk anymore. So they kind of shut us down. So we allow the TCC guys to kind of wrestle between Florida State and FAM, whichever school that they're thinking.
What would be as far as you're saying, and I don't know anything about the community college wrestling in California or anywhere. I know that there's been there, but what would be the benefits of the JUCOs in Florida creating a wrestling conference and putting wrestling teams there? And would that affect the clubs? Like now instead of club wrestling, would you have community college wrestling, or would this all be part of just wrestling? What would the benefits of it be? Why are you so adamant?
So I spoke to, and this was an idea. I coached at, we started a program at TCC, but we didn't have another, I think maybe a few years before, Santa Fe had a club team. And before that, this year, Palm Beach State, Coach Ferns, he's a guy came down from Michigan last year, and he started a program. They're a community college school. So anybody looking, grades are not really, where they need to be at. definitely, check out Coach Ferns at Palm Beach State, get your AA or do 1 year there, and then you can kind of, go through the competition, compete.
So these are going to be like these are feeder programs, kind of like in football, where someone goes out to Notre Dame, but they wrestle at that Saint whatever it is, and then they come, or they play ball there and they come over. Or up at Florida, they've got that the JUCO place up there, and then so essentially
the benefit will be monetarily, like you really don't have the money to go outside, or a coach, you have guys where you go up to these community colleges in Iowa and they're giving you a partial, which you could have just stayed in Florida, and wrestled at open tournaments. And if your community college has a club team, then you can compete at nationals, conference and nationals, and get more exposure and videotape, for guys to be like, hey, let me give you another look. I've seen you, at a competitive level at a couple, opens where you're beating my guys or it's competitive with my guys. I might need to give you a second chance or a different look. So that would be
nice.
Coach Ferns has been the one to kind of push. Why not? If we can get, I think he said 4 to 5 community colleges. I think we need 5 community colleges in the state of Florida for us to form our own.
But isn't the real issue that we don't have a D1 school?
Yes.
Because if we had a D1 program, then you could have five community colleges that kids would say, okay, I'll go there because then I get to wrestle at UCF, Florida State, Florida, Miami, Florida Gulf Coast, and I get to stay in Florida and still compete at a high level, and I can feed into those. But with no Division I program, doesn't it make more sense for them to go somewhere else for a JUCO and then feed into that program?
It depends. Like I said,
and I'm not saying it, I'm just being an advocate. Like if Florida State was Division I, then the community college, TCC or whatever, would not have lost their program because you can now attract big name wrestlers that just can't cut it grade wise right now and feed them right into Florida State, where now kids are saying, well, I'll just go to the one at Penn State or the one up in Notre Dame or the one in Ohio State or Iowa, and we can't get them down here to Florida.
It's going to be, like I said, whoever, that one college that has the alumni that really want to back it, really feel passionate about it. Once that happens in the state of Florida, then I think the dominoes are going to start to fall.
Yeah, then the JUCOs are going to make sense, right?
Yeah, you have a template. Somebody has a template where you can kind of show, this is a viable option that people and we all are passionate about wrestling in the state of Florida, in South Georgia, to be honest. But just seeing that manifest itself into a Division I program, it's going to take, like I said, significant amount of alumni donations and work to kind of put that together. I know Clemson, they had a campaign earlier this year to kind of start their program.
Well, I guess you guys up on the border there, you could probably put a JUCO program together up in the Panhandle and stuff up there, because there's D1 programs, Alabama and Georgia, and you could still create a funnel going that way. So you could probably get some good wrestlers down into those JUCOs in your area, right? Or your club.
Yes. Again, the pathways, it just depends on the mindset of the wrestlers. Like I said, a lot of I've been running into now is like, hey, I want to compete at the level, but I don't want to go through the 4 or 5 days of, practicing, 2-a-day practice. I still want to be a college student. I still want to, with our guys, my biggest thing with guys at Florida State is they come in and, hey, I wrestled in high school, and then rush hits. And then, they join the frat, and then it's like, oh, can I get you back after you finish? And, by the time the kegs start flowing and, trying to work back.
How close do you think you are? How have the conversations been with Florida State or even FAMU, where you feel like, are the talks good? Are they going in the right direction, where you think that FSU is really considering bringing wrestling on?
At FSU, not unless we can show significant alumni, support donation wise. Like, hey, even if it started out this year, like, hey, we have 10,000, in donations, okay, and then next year we can get 20, and then if we get 20, okay, now we can offer a guy, even though we're wrestling at NCWA level, we can offer a guy a partial, you know, maybe books. Start off at that level and can probably 4 to 5 years before they.
So I feel like the Florida, not Florida State University, but the Florida State wrestling community as a state in a whole, if they really want a Division I program, if the whole state got together, regardless, look, I got an ibis on my arm breaking a spear, okay? So I am not a Florida State or a Florida Gator fan. I'm a Miami fan. However, if we can put all that stuff aside and say, okay, we're going to go all in to fund one program to get that Division I program off the ground and fund it, wouldn't the rest of the dominoes fall? Like if we just all said, who cares if we're fans of Florida State, UCF, Florida Gator, let's all as a community pick one school, focus on getting them a program, getting the funding, do fundraisers, do whatever it is, and boom, we get that one school off the ground. Couldn't we essentially now turn around and tell these other schools, hey, here's what can happen if you put it together?
That probably could get the ear of an athletic department or AD. And then you couple it with women's wrestling, you probably could get the ear for somebody to be like, hey, let's give this a second look, or can you give me a budget? What does a budget look like in our area? And like I said, with wrestling growing in the South, you having a lot more NAIA teams like in Florida now. I'm excited for St. Thomas, Kaiser as well. They actually attended our tournament this year, but the more teams that you can kind of have that are on that next level, the easier it is for us to have that conversation. Like, hey, we might want to, you see that they're attracting more students. It's a calling card that they can use. Like I said, your bigger schools, they don't have an issue with attracting students like Florida State, UF, Miami, and they're private. They don't have an issue with attracting students. It's your smaller schools, and they're reaping the benefits. But if you had that one team, like we said, hey, we're going to support, University of Central Florida because they're in the middle of the state, and it would be easy. I think that you might be able to get the ear of the athletic director to kind of shake and move some stuff.
Or even, how many Division II schools do we have out there? We've got a lot. I remember UCF was Division II, and after a couple of good quarterbacks, they became Division I. So, even if we catapulted a D2 school to say, hey, look, somebody just said, Coach Fred is great. Wrestled 4 years in the NCWA competing against Fred and his guys. Great experience and memories for the rest of my life. Would not be where I am now without the NCWA. That's a gentleman named Zachary Lebovic. If I screwed up your name, dude, sorry.
University of North Florida, if I'm not mistaken, and he's a ref in the Jacksonville area. So Coach Sherman was his coach over there, and he's moved on to administration in the NCWA. But yeah, definitely, like I said, the niche where we're at now, I just want to grow wrestling in Florida. If it allows a kid, to be able to compete against, I see you have the life, like now, year to year, I'm able to tell kids like, hey, we're going to the same tournament that, Life, Brewington Parker, Emmanuel, we're stepping our game up to attend those tournaments because we know on the back end coming through our conference, and going to nationals, like our national tournaments is a wild card. I think, a lot of divisions you're able to kind of see and, do research, prior to, but in our association, this, once you get there to national, you might know a couple of people like Liberty, of course, because they're wrestling D3 tournaments and stuff.
What do you do duels against only NCWA, or do you do duels against NAIA and other schools as well?
I will try. Like this year, we're actually pushing to have more duels with our NAIA teams, D3. 2 years ago, Huntington College, they came down and wrestled and competed against us, FAMU and UCF. So you kind of can get one or two. I think this year Allen is another HBCU in South Carolina. They're NAIA. They offer scholarships. So they're planning on coming down, and then I'm working with another coach at a D2 school to bring his guys down. So I'm at a point now. If I can get, I'm in a central location. If I can get, say, hey, St. Thomas, we have this D2 school coming down. Would you like to duel against them? All right, and life, let's meet.
Yeah, I was going to say, why can't some of the D1 schools, why can't you do like exhibitions or something, or have and show some people, hey, sure, maybe the first couple times the NCWA schools get smoked, whatever, who cares? But at least they're getting out there on the mat with these guys. But then when the duels start getting closer, when kids are starting to compete, wouldn't that make the school whose club that is go, wow, look at that, man. Florida's club kids just, wrestled against University of Georgia, whatever, wow, maybe we need to look at all the fans coming out. Look at all the things going on around the sport.
Top to bottom, just with a Division I team, you might have one or two kids that can compete. But, going through a whole 10 weight class lineup is going to be kind of hard, to make competitive work.
And let's be honest, it's just a benefit to the school, right? Because, listen, we all know what butters Florida State's bread, and that's the football and the basketball team, right?
Yes, sir.
So we all know that. So how?
Baseball too.
Yes, but we also know that a lot of those scholarships come from track. A lot of those scholarships come from, I'm out of scholarships, but that kid's fast. Let me give him this scholarship, and that gets him into the school and onto the football field. There's a lot of football players out there that wrestled as well that maybe you can get and use wrestling as well as to funnel that sport too. Listen, let's be honest. I mean, it's all politics, right? So if somehow we can say, hey, look, you can gain 4 more football scholarships by adding a wrestling team, because we can get some offense and defensive linemen in here that are going to be big boys.
Every year that the NFL promotes, it has specials on in the NFL draft, and you find that there are more and more athletes that have wrestled. It just makes our argument more compelling to be like, hey, this is, take out $25,000 out of your football budget. Let me develop you some more people I know that can tackle, defensive linemen that can get people off. I think that's a win-win, and hopefully, the coaches, if they're interested, will reach out, and kind of we can make that connection. I'm all for bringing dual athletes in. Just the liability issue we're going to run into, but assess risk for your athletes. So.
Right, because you're not considered the school. So if they sprained an ankle or they did something, the insurance that they've taken out on their athletes isn't going to cover it.
And
but if you are part of a school, then, let's be honest, you can pick up. And how many kids are typically on a college roster? It's not just one squad. You usually have 32 or something, right? On a Division I wrestling team. So you could easily pick up 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
scholarships for them.
I would say probably preferred walk-ons, probably a partial. From my aspect, if let's say hypothetically the football team was to say, hey, yeah, we will be able to maybe match you with some scholarships. My first immediate thing is I'm looking for students who are Bright Futures eligible. So that means, tuition is paid for. So that kind of gives me more, or gives us more room to kind of operate under.
And now you have an opportunity to develop their offense and defensive linemen during the off season and make them better by being in the wrestling room. But now, not legally, but insurance wise, they don't have to worry about if they're, sprain their ankle or break a finger or whatever might happen.
That will be the biggest, issue that I can see liability wise, that we would have to deal with. And, you deal with it now. Student athletes, I know at both institutions, you have to pay for the university insurance, before we allow them to wrestle. Or if you have your own personal insurance, but that way that that we're covered, and we can make sure that we can get those kids the proper attention.
Listen, all that aside, anybody out there listening, Florida State has a wrestling program, and it's also FAMU has a wrestling program. So you've got two opportunities there as a kid, part of the Bright Futures program, part of the Florida Family whatever program, or you just want to take a year off and take a couple classes, see you haven't made a decision with life yet, and you can wrestle, get better, get to open competition, and use it as kind of, let's be honest. How many kids are done with their senior year and their whole life has been wrestling and they're not too sure if they want to wrestle at the next level now? Are they burnt out or not? Go spend a year, take a couple classes, get back in the room, do some open tournaments, and see if it's something that you're still passionate about. If not, make a decision from there. But you've got some good coaches around that are coaching these programs, like Coach Simmons, like CJ, like Tome, like JD, like the guys at Florida Gulf Coast. So, and you get to stay in Florida. It's not a bad thing. Close to beaches, good weather, no snow.
And your family gets to see you wrestle. I don't think we take into account, just having that family support to come out there and see you compete. You had it your whole life, and then you go to college, and some schools you're not able to kind of see, or be there to experience. So that's.
Well, listen, 153 club teams nationwide for men. That doubles what there is, I think, not in NAIA, but that doubles Division I, probably doubles Division II. So it's not like you're not going to get an opportunity to wrestle. Plus, you're going to these open tournaments where you're going to get to compete against some upper echelon kids and possibly have those schools say, call Coach Simmons and say, hey, man, tell me a little bit about this kid. What's his character like? What kind of background does he have? Is he a kid that I should bring up?
I actually had one guy 3 years ago, Robert Peter. He was Florida State's first NCWA national qualifier. But he actually beat a couple his senior season. He went undefeated up until the national final. But he actually beat a couple. We took him to the Cumberland Open. He won the Cumberland Open. And we went to another tournament where he down at UCF. They have the University of Pembroke, North Carolina Pembroke. He beat a couple kids there. They qualified for NAIA, D2, the D2 national championship. So, you definitely have some kids that, from my aspect, that have the talent. They just want to focus more on academic, and some just say, hey, I want to graduate from the Florida State, university, or have that as a notch or achievement in life. So, but I do ask if any coaches are listening to this, or open to coaching, like at a Miami-Dade. Definitely, you have a wealth of talent down there that can attend a community college, and then wrestle.
Yeah, is it still BCC? It used to be BCC down there, Broward Community College, but I don't know what it's called now.
Broward, yeah. So if you have any coaches in these areas that are close to a community college, please, if you need help and want to establish an NCWA team, I'm willing to help. Me and Coach Ferns, he's actually the conference commissioner now, and JD, we're all, we compete against each other, but we're all a family, and we all care about growing the sport, especially here in Florida. And the more teams that we can have in the state, I think the better it bodes for, hey, we have these many schools. Let's support a Division I wrestling team.
That's all. I just had somebody comment a few minutes ago. They said, he said, heck yeah, that's my alma mater. Cade is his son who wrestles for Bishop Moore. And he says, Cade wants to go to FSU. So you may have a little stud on his way. Definitely. I think he was a freshman or a sophomore. I think he was a sophomore this year.
I'm definitely looking forward to more. Like I said, if God willing, and he's blessed me with the opportunity to stay in Tallahassee, where I haven't had to move, gainfully employed, especially in this pandemic and how things are shaping up in the country right now. If I'm there, we're definitely trying to keep the train rolling with both teams. And if you have a guy that says, hey, I want to go to a community college, and Tallahassee Community College, we allow them to kind of compete at some of our open tournaments as well with us, travel with us and compete.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been great. I'm telling you, my interviews You know, they used to go 15, 20 minutes. Now they go damn near an hour, man. These are great.
I'm
Loving it,
definitely
man.
I'm definitely gonna get you in touch with Coach Ferns. He's, like I said, a Michigan guy, came down new to the state, but
I love it.
he really has.
I may have to move my 2 o'clock. I mean, yeah, my 2 o'clock to 2:30 because it seems like when I'm on at 1 now, I got to rush to get off because I got to get on the 2. So I'm going to have to change that up to 2:30 now because we just get into conversations, man, and I'm loving it. And I guess as I'm learning and getting more knowledge, I have better questions. So
Like, why not this and why not that? And let's, like, your idea today, and I'm all for it. I would wholeheartedly say, hey, if we decide as a state that we're going to pick one school and put some funds to help that, I'm all for it because I think that domino, they need to see it fall, and then from there we can kind of get the ball rolling on. This is like I said, viable option for us to have. And you see people like the South Beach dudes. You have a lot of Division I teams coming now to South Florida, and it's generating revenue for the state.
I mean, just imagine how big a UCF FSU duel would be, or a FSU Florida duel, or a Miami Florida State duel at the Division I level. That's it for football. That's Ohio. For Ohio State, Penn State in wrestling, that's Miami Florida State in football, right? So imagine that at that level. That would be just amazing, I mean, just incredible to watch.
Like the things that we're working on now is like next year. I told my club president, he's also a state champ actually 2 years ago. Dan Stone has a sister, Lauren Stone. She's going to UF, and I begged and pleaded for her, say, hey, if you want to, wrestle this year and compete at the NCWA level, I'll come out of my pocket to help fund the women's team at UF, just because, I know she's that good. And when you have people at that level, it kind of puts a spotlight on, like, hey, if she could do it here, then why not get an education there and do it as well? So, but next year, I want to host a dual tournament at Florida State, and now with video content, kind of able for people to kind of see what it would look like, and tell each other.
How can we market? You're saying that Flo has the NCWA national tournaments on there. Mm-hmm. How do you market to these Florida rooms that when that's on, so that people can be aware?
I generally post in the Florida rooms, as often as I can. I know Florida Gulf Coast, they post. CJ, we kind of always do it, but like basically letting you know and educating you on what we're doing definitely would be another extension for us to keep it. But if anybody's interested and want to watch the level of competition and they have access to Flo, just type in NCWA National Championships. I think they started doing it maybe the year after JD. We hosted the UCF hosted down here at the National Championships in Florida, but they've been, consistently live broadcast as they're going on. Even this year, mid-tournament, we had a lot of schools ended up pulling their students out because of COVID, and the national championships kept, still rolling on. So that was a little crazy. People, schools like, hey, you got to come back today, and then you come to the semis, and you see a guy walk out and he gets his hand raised for a forfeit. And he was like, what happened? And it was like, yeah, school said that they had to come back today, and you was like, wow. So
yeah, crazy stuff, man.
Yeah,
hey, so you ready for the 10 questions?
Run them.
You're down by 3 going into the third period. You have choice: top, bottom, or neutral.
Top.
Folk or free?
I'm gonna go with folk. Collegiate.
Headgear or no headgear?
Headgear. Even though you have in the coaching, even though because they swear up and down, they can't hear. They got sign language to them. So,
if you have only one day to train, whether this is for you or you want to take it as your club team, do you go to a rumble or a clinic?
Rumbles.
Who wins the rematch, Loudon Swain or Brian Shoot?
Shoot.
Everybody says Shoot.
I just think that was a one time, like, You
Yeah,
know,
he just prepared his mind to do it.
yeah,
Which title holds more prestige, the 32 or the Fargo?
Fargo.
What's more dominant, pin or a tech?
I'm a pin guy.
Waffle fries or steak fries?
I just had this conversation. I'm gonna go with steak fries, and I'm mad that KFC stopped offering their waffle fries, their wedges, their
Oh
wedges.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they cook them real well.
yeah.
You get the toasty on the outside with the spice.
KFC is going to
Yeah,
fries
you
now.
don't see these titties. I'm fat.
I did my 50 push-ups today. I'm challenging my guys to keep up with me in this quarantine era. So
Hey, so you're at a bar, a game, whatever. You go wings or burger?
oh, wings all the time.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A? Tough. I'm going.
Chick-fil-A, because I can get a salad. Popeyes doesn't offer salad. They don't offer a healthy option.
Oh well.
And Chick-fil-A is offering kale side salads too now.
Oh, there you go. I'm going with Popeyes. I'm gonna get the Popeyes spicy wings, and then I'm gonna go over and get the waffle fries from. You like the Whopper or the Big Mac?
Whopper, man. I grew up with Burger King right up the street from my house.
Oh yeah. What was that old song? I like the Whopper, the Big Mac.
Whopper Jr. is actually my favorite.
My problem is I love that Big Mac. So you saw my video from yesterday. I finally got one. 57 days I've been quarantined, and I went out and got a Big Mac, and it was so good.
Ate it in one stick? You didn't cut it in?
No, if you go on my page, you'll see I live fed while I was eating it. I was like, yeah. I even saved some right here. I was so happy with it.
I'm gonna check that out. I'm trying to cut my portions down, a little bit, being a little bit more health conscious. So
yeah, me too. But I had to get a Big Mac.
Look, sometimes sometimes you just gotta. I'm a Five Guys guy, so
gotta do what you gotta do. All right, man. Hey, listen. Anytime you want to jump on, man, you just give me a holler and we do it.
Well, definitely, if you have anybody that wants to reach out and start a NCWA team in the state of Florida, please shoot them my information. We're just trying to grow it one team at a time, and hopefully we can get one of these schools to kind of provide opportunity for us to break that mold and to really let people know the type of wrestling we got in Florida, coming out of Florida, instead of them going everywhere else and getting all the accolades.
Let's keep them home.
Yeah, keep them home. So.
For sure, my brother. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on and reaching out. And any of the other NCWA schools that want to come on, just have them holler at me. You got my link, so
yeah, definitely.
Have them sign up. We'll talk about it.
I might have to get you some Florida State wrestling swag.
I'll give you I'll message you my address.
All right. I got.
If it says wrestling, I'll wear it. But if it says,
I mean, I know you're a Canes fan.
I am a Canes fan, but I'm also a wrestling fan. So if it says wrestling, I'll wear it.
Okay. All right.
But anything that says Florida Gator, I won't wear.
Nah. Right there. So I'll make sure you get it one.
Yeah, man, I'm size double XL.
Well, you might be able to take one of that with.
All right, man. I'll shoot you my address, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everything you're doing for wrestling. And let's talk anytime, man. I hope that the UCF guys told me that I need to bring my kid out to their tournament next year. So I'm sure you'll be there. I'll get to meet you.
Definitely. You'll see, a lot of teams. And
somebody just posted that SPC is looking to start a wrestling program.
SPC.
Can you expand, Christopher Wilmington, on what SPC stands for? Because we are a couple of dumb guys who can't make it out.
Yeah, I got my
St. Petersburg Community College, maybe. So, well, Christopher, reach out to my man here.
FSU Wrestling on IG. Shoot me a message.
All right, brother. You take it easy and have a great night.
All right. Thank you, and God bless everybody, man. Stay safe.